The Edmonton Oilers are on their way to the Stanley Cup Final after defeating Dallas last night in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. In this video, we're going to dive into some of the crazy stats that the Oilers have right now and the reasons why they are going to win the Stanley Cup. So make sure to stay tuned on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into it, like always, we got to say that 81.9% of you guys watching these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you're trying to keep up to date on everything that's happened around the hockey world, make sure down below and hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. But with that said, let's get right into the main topic of the video, which is the Oilers make the finals. And yes, in case you missed it last night, you were asleep on the East Coast, the Edmonton Oilers advanced to the Stanley Cup Final in a 2-1 victory over the Dallas Stars. And yes, that means it sets up the Panthers versus Oilers in the 2024 Stanley Cup Final. And Mark, I know you as a Calgary Flames fan is feeling pretty sour today.
No, I gotta be honest. I was super upset seeing him go to the final. And as a Flames fan, as a born and raised Calgarian Flames fan, it's the worst case scenario for me. I never want to see the Oilers win the cup. However, credit where credit is due. This team is so exciting to watch. I mean, they have two of the best players in the entire NHL, and they not only are just really skilled, but they actually deserve to be here.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I mean, this team worked their butts off, I guess, for lack of a better word there. I mean, at the beginning of the season, they were playing horribly. Connor McDavid got injured. They couldn't string a win together. A lot of people were losing faith in the Edmonton Oilers. So that's the reason why we kind of see nobody saw this coming, because at the beginning of the season, nobody expected them to make the playoffs. But what did they do? They battled their way back through the rest of the season, got into the playoffs, and then went on a great run out of a very hard Western Conference this year and made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. And obviously, that's on the back of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I mean, these two guys, arguably the top two players in the world right now. And I think it's just great to finally have a Canadian team that has a chance to win the Stanley Cup again.
You're saying has a chance. You're saying the Habs didn't even have a chance back in 2021?
They didn't have a positive record. I mean, I'm a Habs fan, but I know what's up. I didn't think they were going to come back against the Leafs, but that's a whole different topic.
No, that's fair, but it is true. Edmonton, no one really saw this coming because they had one of the worst records in the whole NHL through the first, whatever it was, 15 games or so. Who knew that Fire and Jay Woodcroft would totally salvage their entire season and pick them up? And as much as I hate the guy, but Corey Perry, he had such a strange season where he was in some pretty wild rumors over in Chicago involving Bedard. We won't dive into those, of course, but then he's kind of missing in action, contract terminated and whatnot. And then he comes to Edmonton and it kind of gave them a spark. Am I saying Corey Perry is the reason the Oilers are in the final? No, but he is going to the final with a fifth different team now. He has some sort of witchcraft going on right now of getting his teams to the finals. Now, of course, I know he's lost his last however many finals it is with the past three teams. And personally, for me, I hope that continues. But either way, it is sensational what the Oilers have done this season, finally able to build a team around McDavid and Draisaitl, and they are looking scary heading into the Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, definitely. Corey Perry was one of my, favorite guys on that Montreal team who made that run. And besides Philip Deneau with the slice of pizza in the presser, which we talked about before recording. But, Corey Perry, one of my favorite stories from that whole run was when he went in the dressing room, put his stick in the garbage can and said, "We need some garbage goals." Like, I think that is just amazing leadership from a guy. And this is what he brought to Edmonton since he was there. And to your point about Woodcroft, I mean, they definitely threw some wood on the fire here, no pun intended, to, kind of spark the guys to get rolling again. And ever since that turning point, I mean, TSN turning point of the season, in my opinion, I think that this team has just been on fire. And I know a lot of people call them power play merchants, which I guess you could say they are. I mean, it just shows how good this team is, obviously with that high and talent. A good power play is going to come along with it. But, I mean, we see in Toronto, sorry Leafs fans, but they have great talent there, but they can't get the power play going in the playoffs. So, the players need to make this work. So you can call them power play merchants all they want, but they are taking advantage of those opportunities.
No, that's exactly it. You can string together as many good players as you want. If your power play doesn't click in the playoffs, you're not going to be successful. That is what makes the Oilers so successful, is that they're actually able to get their power play going. And people, especially, I mean, I'm public enemy number one here as a Flames guy, but look, I can sit here and say, look, they can only score on the power play. What a boring team. No, the fact that they're able to get it actually going on the power play is huge and might be the reason why they could win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, obviously. And obviously you got guys like McDavid, Draisaitl, like we talked about, but there's one guy who's kind of flying under the radar here right now. And if we take a look at last night's game, I mean, the shots on goal were very differentiated between both sides. I mean, we had Edmonton with 8 and Dallas, I believe this they may have taken a bit more after I took the screenshot last night. I think Stuart Skinner ended up with 34 saves, as we see here in this screenshot, and he had a 971 save percentage last night with a 2.27 goals saved above expected, which means he's saving those goals that would normally go in. And they say here he's the highest save percentage with 34 plus saves in a conference final game in Edmonton Oilers history. So I think Stuart Skinner has been that guy. I mean, obviously, we know his luscious mustache. That's my favorite part about Stuart Skinner, but he is a phenomenal goalie as well. And this is a guy who, like, at the beginning of the season, like we talked about, was struggling a little bit. Everybody was saying, we need to trade for a goalie. Stuart Skinner isn't that guy, but when it came playoff time, I mean, he's really been locked in. Yes, his save percentage right now, as we're recording this, is under 900. But, I mean, last night he proven that he was better than Jake Ottinger, one who thought was probably the best goalie left in the playoffs.
100%. And that is the beauty of the Stanley Cup playoffs, is you can have a guy like Stuart Skinner outperform, a bona fide number one goaltender in Jake Ottinger. You think of some of the guys who have carried their teams to Stanley Cups in the past, let's say 15 years or so. You guys come to mind like Antti Niemi, Matt Murray, who we've seen, and, Corey Crawford, not exactly your Henrik Lundqvists, your Carey Prices, who are guys who definitely deserve to have a Stanley Cup. But Stuart Skinner, to have that kind of stat line last night is incredible. Is he the best goalie in Edmonton Oilers history? Step aside Grant Fuhr. It's time for Stuart Skinner and his stash.
Yeah, definitely. Bringing the Lanny McDonald stash to Edmonton.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to hear those in the same sentence.
Yeah, but I mean, it just shows how good that this guy, kind of like we've seen in Toronto with Sam Snaff kind of battling that whole mental side of the game. I think Stuart Skinner had the same issue at the beginning of the season, but worked it out and played great hockey throughout the second half the last 3 quarters of the season for the Edmonton Oilers. And now in the playoffs has looked like a completely different goalie and has just been able to shut down these big chances. Like we've seen, like 2.27 goals saved above expected is a huge stat, because that's 2 goals that should have went in for Dallas. And we're seeing him make these phenomenal saves, which is a reason why, if he stays this hot and keeps the momentum going here, I don't think Florida has a chance. And there's another reason why I don't think Florida has a chance. And that is because of Connor McDavid, obviously, with 31 points in the playoffs so far, 5 goals, 26 assists. And then we got Draisaitl, obviously, 10 goals, 18 assists for 28 points. And Draisaitl has 14 power play points out of those 28 points. And we also have Evan Bouchard, a guy who's been playing great for them as well. 27 points, 21 apples for the kid. And then Nuge, who kind of had a lackluster season, in my opinion, has kind of picked it up here in the playoffs, putting up 20 points for these guys. And obviously, as we bring down the graphic here, Zach Hyman with 14 goals. I mean, this guy's been phenomenal. Yes, you can say he's getting fed, he's getting them put on a plate, stuff like this, but he still has to put him in the back of the net, like we've said multiple times here on the the channel. But I mean, when you have an offense that's that is red hot as this is, and as how hot their power play is right now, kind of like we said going into this Star Series, if they could shut down the power play chances, then they would win. And we didn't see that happen, and that's why Edmonton won this series. So if we go to the Florida side of things, I mean, it's going to be tough for Bob and the Panthers to shut down this offense, because I don't think anybody can right now.
No, you're 100% right. I mean, let's be honest. The Edmonton Oilers do have the best offense in the NHL, and they've proved it in these playoffs. They score at will. Last night, they tried something a little bit different, get a little lead, and then park the Bucks. They had 10 shots in the whole game, in a series-clinching game to go to the Stanley Cup Final. They had 10 shots, and that's with a lineup with all the guys you just mentioned. Imagine if they unlock their offense even more in important games. They'll actually be unstoppable, which, oh my gosh, I never want to see it. I don't want to see it, but it could totally happen here. And for Florida, I'd be obviously cautious about penalties, because the Edmonton power play, as we know, is just sensational. We know that. Matthew Tkachuk is a guy who draws a lot of penalties. He has experience playing against the Oilers, but will that kind of change a little bit? Will he take more penalties than draw? I think that'll be essential for the Panthers, of course. And the Oilers, look, Draisaitl has those 28 points, which is absolutely amazing. He didn't even get all that many in this Stars series. If he can pick it up in the final, we're going to see the Cup back in Canada.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, like 10 shots in a series clinching game and still winning 2-1 is pretty big, and it's laughable if if you're looking at the Dallas side of things. I mean, to lose a game when you only let 10 shots on net, I mean, that's horrible. That's an 800 save percentage for Jake Ottinger in a series clinching game. But I mean, when you're up against this Edmonton team, like it's such a stacked offensive team. I feel like every time they're getting a shot to the goal, it's a high danger opportunity, and that's why it's so hard to shut down this Oilers team, because you can limit them to 5 shots and they still are going to have 1 goal, because they have 2 of the best players in the world on their team, and that's just the way it is. And if I'm Matthew Tkachuk right now, I'm shaking in my boots. I'm doing everything I could. I'm making a deal with the devil to win this Stanley Cup Final, because Matthew Tkachuk needs to do something, man. He needs to have a huge finals. Not saying that he hasn't done anything so far, but I mean, to at least match the offense that Edmonton has. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk needs to have a twin brother who is Connor McDavid's second cousin or something like that. He needs to have the DNA in him to do it in the Stanley Cup Finals.
I 100% agree. I mean, if that can be the case, please, if anyone can make that happen, please make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is going to be a fun finals. I think it's going to be great. Both teams that nobody really wants to win, unless you're, I'm just going to be completely honest here. Nobody wants any of these teams to win. I'm not going to lie. I am going to cheer for the Panthers, just because, obviously I do want to see McDavid win one, but I want it to hurt Edmonton Oilers fans. I want him to be on LA like Gretzky did, or something like that, or on Utah or something like that. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough one for Florida to deal with. But I think it would be great to see the Cup back in Canada. It's the reason why, we're going to watch this Stanley Cup Finals. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to see these two teams in the finals. Like, gosh, come on. What, like, is this in the script or something? Like, come on.
It's so true. Take it from a Flames standpoint. It's the Oilers, your worst enemies possible, your arch rivals, and then the Florida Panthers, the team that took all of your good players. Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, you throw in Lomberg in there if you'd like. It's, oh my gosh, no one wants either of these teams to win. And I understand. A lot of people want a cup back in Canada. Personally, for me, any team that has Evander Kane and Corey Perry on it, that's not Canada's team. That doesn't represent it. I do not want that. The Oilers are a great team. I respect them in terms of their skill and how they've been able to win, but I still hate them, and I do not want them to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, there's one thing we can take away from this is at least Boston isn't in the finals. I mean, that's something good. I mean, as long as Brad Marchand stays out of the finals, I'm happy with that. But I think it's going to be a fun finals to watch. Definitely going to be tuned in. Still not quite sure who I'm going to cheer for. I did say Florida. I might switch to Edmonton by tomorrow. I don't know. I'm still trying to get my feelings together right now because I don't know who to go for here. But we want to hear your guys' thoughts on the Edmonton Oilers making the finals and stuff like this. Let us know down below in the comment section. And stay tuned later this week. We're going to have a full series breakdown of the Stanley Cup Finals, so you're not going to want to miss out on that. So make sure down below and hit that subscribe button as well. But we're going to get into everybody's favorite topic of the video, which is comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to Pat G Mafia, day one supporter here on the channel. Shout out to you, Pat G. He says 4.5 million for 4 years for Bertuzzi and 3.8 million for 3 years for Domi would be ideal. And wouldn't everybody love to see that, Mark? I mean, we'd love to see Bert and Domi back in Toronto.
No, of course, they are fan favorites in the Leaf fan base. And honestly, those contract offers aren't all that unreasonable. I think to really compete, maybe a little bit less, but of course, you have to give the player what they want. And sometimes it could work out. So I'd love to see it.
Yeah, definitely. And let us know down below in the comment section, like I said, any of your thoughts on the Oilers. Even just let us know where you're watching from. We love seeing where you guys are tuning in from all around the globe. While you're down there, make sure to hit the like button on the video. Helps push our video out to all the hockey fans out there. So we appreciate if you're down there commenting, hit that like button as well. Also, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any content that we're posting. Like we said, we're going to be here all off season. Keep me up to date on the draft, on free agent signings, on the Stanley Cup Finals. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And if you want to check out a video we did the other day, it'll be popping up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host, KC, alongside my co-host, Mark Griffith. We'll catch you in the next